Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hi,
We're
I'm Greg,
David. You know us. We're happy
and
people.
welcome to the stream today.
Yeah, we made it. Happy. What is it? Sunday. Happy Sunday to all, and to all a good night.
Yes.
No,
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 not yet.
no. Good to all a good morning, afternoon. It could be night where they are.
It could be.
I mean,
It could.
we're not here to judge that. Huh?
Yeah.
So, Greg, what's been happening with you? What's new, exciting? What's on your printer? How's your week been?
Well, you guys saw what's on my printer at the start of the stream. I'm printing my third version of a gauntlet for the Mando. Because I had a little issue. So the first one was definitely too small. The second one, well, there's kind of a problem also, as you can see. I cannot quite get my hand through.
Well, that looks
Uh,
like if it's perfect, though.
I heated it and kind of squashed it down to flatten it out a bit, and no luck. So I have rejiggered it. I made it wider than long in Prusa slicer, and then resliced it, and we're going for third time's a charm. So yeah, it's been the gauntlet.
The gauntlet. I like that. I like that.
Uh,
Um, and what else you got?
but well, I got the. Whoop,
Ah,
don't want to lose anything.
loud bouncing noises. Sorry, everybody.
All right. So I've got my helmet off the printer,
Nice.
and I picked up a tinted face shield,
Mm-hmm.
and so that'll go inside like that. And so yeah, it's getting there. I got a little bit of the surface is pretty good. This upper part, for some reason, right here, just from here to here, you can see the infill, but
Okay.
then from here up, it's solid. So I've got a little bit of finishing to do, a little bit of cleanup, and then I can prime. I'll prime it all, and then I got to figure out exactly how I'm patinaing it
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot, and so then I'll have my Mando helmet, and then I printed some
Shoulder armor.
shoulder armor,
You're going full out nerd on this Mando. I like it.
uh, full Beskar armor. So I'm working on the chest piece now. I found a couple models I liked, but I didn't like that the way they had them split up. Um, I understand why they split them up. They split them up to fit on basically an ender size bed,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to print them in bigger pieces. So I'm going to kind of rework it a bit so that I can hopefully get that
That
to
rolling.
print. So yeah,
Cool.
that's the kind of the stuff I've been working on.
Well, that sounds nifty. I haven't done half as much as that this week. Been hanging
Normally
out.
you're normally you're the super printer.
Yeah, I mean they printed this week, but it definitely not like a Mando armor or anything like that. I've printed a few cell phone stands because of for convenience for me working, remotely and stuff like that. So I've printed some creature comfort things. But yeah, my printers have been um, getting some much needed love and care and maintenance. So one of the things that I was kind of looking kind of worried about this week was my CR10. the fan. I think I told you about it, but
Yeah,
when
yeah,
it's printing, the fan was running weird. So like,
yeah, it was slowing down.
yeah, but I figured out what it was, and it's actually the Meanwhile power supply fan that's just kicking on and off very quickly. So it's not hitting the thermal threshold, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm fine. So it actually was nothing, which is always the better choice, right? When it's nothing, it's easier to fix. You just got to put all the screws back together and button it up, right?
Absolutely.
um, Greg intervened on me yesterday too a little bit. We were talking about resin printers and whether we should add them to our arsenal, and eventually the answer for now is no. I mean, you guys can comment, pop in the chat, or wherever. If you want to see us show you some resin printing, let us know. But for us, for right now, we're not getting into it. There's just the cost is a little actual. It's a little more than FDM in the end. Some of the parts are wearable, so you're guaranteed maintenance, where on a FDM printer it's kind of like the maintenance skeet shoot.
Yeah.
Maybe it's gonna happen, maybe it's not.
Well, I think they're pretty good, but I've heard from a number of people who do a lot of printing.
Yep.
They've replaced quite a few LCD screens and whatnot. So
Yep.
I think it's getting there, and I think it's not as mature in the hobby space, shall we say, as some of the more larger commercial ones are. So I think it's getting there, and once the cost comes down a little bit more, I think we'll be there.
Well, I think right now, like, it's important to remember, like, there is like a far gap between like a Formlabs resin printer versus like an Elegoo Mars or the Creality LL0H or R or Voxel, whichever one you find. The screens are just basically cell phone screens, and they burn out because they're on all the time.
There's a number of the newer ones have a monochrome LCD.
So they went black and white.
Which makes sense, really, because you don't need, grayscale or anything. You literally just need to have a high resolution, black and white image to create your layer.
Yeah, and it's and then without all that RGB logic in there, those screens last. Like I was reading a chart from a company that we are definitely not sponsored by, so I won't even mention their name, but they had rated their original printer screen at about 500 hours, and then with the monochrome screen in it, they said 2,000.
Yeah, so I think they're all getting there. Yeah. I hear the Prustas are really nice too. The SL1s, I think they're called.
Yes, SL1 and the new Anycubic Photon stuff. I mean, new is the wrong word. The Photon has been around for a while. Just like, in the FDM world, Prusa was there from the beginning to give us all a warm hug and push it off, and then Creality came out with their with the CR10 there. That was 2017. That's crazy.
Yeah, the i3s have really kind of exploded to get the market going, and now we're seeing a lot of variation. Where there's the print mill, which is the new hotness right at the moment that they're trying to really promote that one. So that I want to learn a little bit more about that. I like that you can print really long things with it. But,
like that I-beam. the dude printed like I don't even know how long it was. I'd have to, but it was huge.
Oh, Knack 3D. Yeah,
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 I
yeah. Because
mean
he was the original. He started with, well,
the
not the
white
original, but
knight guy.
he built his own, the White Knight, and
Yep.
then the Squire, and then they collaborated with him and consulted with him
Hmm.
to make the new print mills from Reality. So
Yeah, and him and Naomi wants I forget the actual number, but if it makes enough on Kickstarter, she's pushing Creality to make that an open source printer too. Um,
yeah, she's really
yeah.
pro pushing them to open source. So that'd be good if they can get there. That'd
Hmm.
be nice.
Yes, and this is something that I would love to see. There's questions like what happens when the belt wears down, right?
Well, they're going to be selling the belts as a separate piece.
Yeah, I guess the only question I have when you buy like printers with like specialty specific things, like for example, like the Ender 3, the 235 by 235 plate fits like 300 other Ender 3 clones. You know what I mean? But how many CR10 print mills are there? One. So it kind of creates scarcity. So you're really dependent on that particular company making the part
Well,
for the printer.
I think the market has to see whether there is a market for it,
Mm-hmm.
right? You
Yeah.
know, it's the chicken and the egg.
Yeah,
Doesn't
it's
it doesn't necessarily matter which came first. It's just that which one's more popular in the
truth.
end, right?
Truth, yeah. The I mean, it's interesting that big companies like Creality um are jumping on Kickstarter and kind of using it as like let's see how the market's going right now. Do people want this? Is there interest? But at the same token, look what happened with the Kickstarter CR6 SEs, the first ones that came off the lines. Uh, if you just type CR6 into the Googles, you'll find the autofill response is, does it set fire still? So there was a flaw. Creality totally stood up and said, yeah, there's a flaw. We fixed it. We're fixing it in future machines, and it's safe now. But yeah, and then the video. Hey, what up, light speed? Um, yeah. So it's interesting. I don't think Kickstarter is a place for big companies, so it's like, I'm kind of torn, but hey.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to.
Yeah. It's.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
no, 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 no. I was just gonna get stuff ready. So you say, oh, you're gonna. I'll get stuff
I
ready.
I I was just gonna say high light speed, and guess what? Our internet is light speed. That's the
Yeah.
brand.
Kickstarter printers are coming on hard. They are. Like I remember, what was it like? Remember the little peach printer
Yeah,
from
the
Kickstarter?
scam one.
Yeah, the dudes took all the money, built a house, and then kind of ran away. Like
Yeah,
whenever Kickstarter or Bernie, that was an, I mean, not late printer, but that was that like laser thing you held in your hand and moved it around, and you could burn laser etch things, and
yeah,
super sketchy.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
different now that Kickstarter, has become more of a testing the water marketing tool than it has an innovation thing. So
Yeah, that's
hopefully,
yeah, it was. That's a good point.
hopefully,
Hmm.
it, yeah, yeah. But that's not necessarily a bad thing because, you know, some hopefully companies will have a crazy idea
Hmm.
and throw it out on Kickstarter and see if there's enough interest because some ideas, companies aren't willing to put put the risk out there because it's too different from what everyone else is trying.
Yeah.
So like, the print mill is one of those things where um, I think is kind of like that. You know, everyone says they want one, but until you can prove that enough people to make it worthwhile want one,
Yeah.
you can't get the cost down of manufacturing. So
Well, and that's just it. And like Creality, yeah, Creality, it's kind of wrong, but like, and I 100% agree too, Lightspeed. Like, they have enough money, they can make the printer, they can sell it. But the interesting thing with the Kickstarters from these big companies, it kind of gives you security in your investment. Like, you're not gonna end in that situation with Peachy Printer, right? Because it they don't have to operate on the old circus adage of once you stole all the money, get out of town, right? Like, they're around,
yeah.
they're
Well,
established, they're a good company.
yeah, and I think it's the little guys like the Peachy or whatever the one was that they took the money and ran. Um, I mean, you look at Big Tree Tech; they had their Kickstarter, and they're shipping it now, and so it has become marketing. And no, that's not the what Kickstarter was meant to be. It was meant to be more of a almost an incubator
Yeah.
of new ideas, and now it's become partially a corporate, you
Mm-hmm.
know, thing. Like you look at Pebble. Pebble did really well when they started, and then they kind of became a corporate company. Then they started their next one off on Kickstarter, and then they pulled it at the end. I got my money back because they were bought by Fitbit, and then the product never came out. So at least I got my money back. But
Yeah, and like I know lots of people that have like bought into uh, Kickstarter, like drones, for example, and he got his drone and it wouldn't even fly, right? Like, yeah, they delivered a product, but you might as well have sent like the box of cereal that people have been getting from Amazon deliveries of the PS5s instead of PS5s, right? Gee, I wonder where those real consoles went. I tell you.
yeah, I would like to see more legitimate use of Kickstarter. Like
Mm,
if you really have an innovative product and you want to get the manufacturing off the ground, that's kind of the grassroots. That's what it's for.
yep.
So it is unfortunate that these companies are like Lights were just saying, getting a free
Unsecured free
loan,
loan. Yeah.
free money, um, and hopefully they were already producing it and it was just marketing and
Hmm.
they weren't using this money to kick off their manufacturing because
Yeah.
you know
Well,
but
the
I
timing
guess
of
we
this
won't
totally
know.
makes sense because of like, I mean, they've been selling a lot of printers, but there's been an economic halt. So like, it kind of makes sense that they're like, give us money, please. Um, but we digress. Let us not rip on Kickstarter anymore. um,
I haven't actually looked at the iFactory. Have you seen anything about iFactory?
uh, no, I have not. The only like I've the White Knight. Then he made the Junior White Knight thing. Um, but I have not seen anything on the iFactory. Although I think I might have ran into an article about it when I was reading up on the belt printer last night.
I'm just having a quick
Uh,
look.
well, Greg is doing that. Guys, I got to tell you something really exciting. In fact, it's so exciting, you won't believe it. So, when we were talking about what we're going to talk about, what's kind of our itinerary for the day, I was going to talk about alpha builds. I was going to talk about when you should move to the next alpha because alpha builds can come quickly, and iteratively speaking, there might not be a lot of difference between the two. But something else amazing happened when I was looking into the alpha builds. And well, let's if you look over here on the Prusa GitHub, which I have cleverly brought up, would you look at this? The
Beta 1!
Beta 1 is here. We both couldn't believe it because apparently it came out while we were sleeping, maybe. But Prusa Slicer 2.30 beta is here, which means the release is growing closer and closer. Beta builds are more stable than alpha builds. We talked about it like last time. The first Prusa alpha build that came out for 2.3.0, we couldn't, couldn't is a strong word. They wanted you to compile it yourself, and I wasn't about to fix all the errors and stuff. And so I waited till it was pre-compiled. And then after that, the compiled versions came out. But if you look at the improvements from the actual alpha, so the very last alpha to this new one, they've added a lot of G-code parsing so that it can parse G-code from other slicers now. So very similar to the way Kira and even Simplify pull in, and they can give you more detailed knowledge of like layer movements, hop. Yeah, the alpha 4 was, but the last alpha I did get was 3. I had 4 and then I erased it. But the beta, oh my goodness, I haven't downloaded it yet, but it's we're gonna download it. We won't have like a full tutorial video out about Prusa 2.3 until it's out of beta either. Like we won't do a tutorial on a unfinished product because it's unfinished. Who knows what's going to change?
Well, and it's they normally, and if you look historically back, they'll have I don't know how many historically betas they do, but it kind of depends on how stable it is and bug fixes. And then they normally have a couple release candidates before they pop out the final one. So you know, I was pleasantly surprised how quickly they got to the beta.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to. I actually haven't loaded 2.3 yet. So now that there's a beta, I think I'm going to bite the bullet and try it out.
Let's do a fun experiment. I'm just gonna switch back to this other screen here. I happen to have downloaded the beta just before we started. Look at that window screen roll. Look at that. Yeah, 2.3.
It is a big update.
Yeah, itself is huge. When you're looking at alpha and iterative changes in alpha to beta and those little versions, they're bug fixes usually. They don't add a whole lot, but yeah, like the big features are paint on supports. They've got some new logic in their menus that make it very, very easy to use. I think paint on support was their kind of like mid ground between let's add tree supports and for regular printers, which I mean Prusa Slicer could do. So with the alpha beta builds, they're not signed properly, so you're always going to run into this certificate issue. If you do, just hit run anyway. And like I said, this is not a tutorial video per se. This is we want to see. So far so good. It opens, it runs. You can do file association in the wizard now. Yep, there it is. So you can actually associate project files to Prusa now. So STL and 3MF. Let's see what they got in other vendors now. Well, let's see what they got for Creality. Did they add any? Predator. That was in there last time. Any cubic mega i3s. Yeah. And then do we have... Okay. Who owns an Ender 2? I want to know. I don't think they're bad printers. I just want to know. So if you know somebody that owns an Ender 2, let me know.
Lightspeed, what printers do you have?
That's a good question. It's more like Idea Maker. It is. It's totally like Prusa Slicer. Like Kira's already starting to pull things out of the library files and putting them into Kira, right? So Prusa Slicer is aggressively building.
Ooh, a Railcore, nice.
I have a rail, fancy. Oh, and you have an Artemis. How do you like it? The Artie. And 3 Prusas. Man, you got yourself a farm. Artie's okay. You know, I love my Predator. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but I have heard that about the Arties is that they're just okay sometimes. But haven't used one, can't judge it personally.
I would
The
like Caprice. It's on my future wish list, but I can't justify another printer right now.
Yeah,
Oh, hey, the print's done.
the
Hey,
print finished, everybody.
the print finished.
It's great. I spent a ton of
Um,
money on it, and I had to fix it a bunch of bad designs. Yeah, it was one of those iterative printers, wasn't it? I it's just one of those things where some companies and I think what's his Angus from Maker Muse says this all the time, and so does Joel. Like, we're not here as a community to receive your buggy printer, fix it, give you suggestions on how to fix it. What we want is a finished product that we don't have to fix. I had a Sidewinder. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and sold it. Did which version of the Sidewinder did you have, Lightspeed? Like the first release or yeah, I know what you mean. Print giant rockets all day long with that Delta. Um so we kind of showed you what Greg's been working down on. I got a simpler project, but it was for my wife. Um and it's totally um current event related. I'm not going to use the other word. We're just going to call it current event related. Um, One thing that we made, and we're going to put it up on Thingiverse, is this guy. It's not an alien space rifle. It could be, but it's not. This guy is just what it is it's a base piece, stem. You put it on your work desk or desk, whatever, and you hang your mask here. So when you're taking your mask on and off at work, if you have clients coming in, or you're leaving the office and you want to keep that mask for the office or whatever, this stand here does the job. We I have not. It will be going up on Thingiverse. The design for this, I'll show the screen capture here. Transition, boom. Was in Fusion. So if we step back a few, boop 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 boop. Let's unhide everything so we can actually see stuff. And then let's check this. I always love doing this in Fusion because it makes you feel so cool. Cool. So hit play. Here we go. Iterative designing. Oh yeah. So our first step was, we draw our stem, and from there, come on, keep moving. From the stem, we had a body, so we just extruded our sketch for the stem, and then we fixed up a little bit. We've prettied it up with some fillets, 4 fillets, and then basically we started another component here for the base. Now the base just turns into a circle. So let's see if we can show you that. Let's shrink those down. So right here, you can see that our base is just basically drawn off of our Fusion design part for the top. It projects down through and cuts through the circle. And that's basically what we did. So that's kind of like my easy Fusion project for the week. Greg deserves a big screen right now, so here's his big screen. You are big screen, friend.
All right. Well, there we go.
It is amazing, and it fits.
Yeah, well, I can get my hand through. I
Well,
think I could have gone a tiny bit smaller, but once I have a jacket on and the leather glove and everything, I think it'll be all right. I think I need to redo this for my wrist because the back is quite
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
a little bit.
I got to rework it, but it fits.
Well, I
So
mean, you,
I've got one that fits now. So
yay.
I mean, this will be good enough for a Halloween costume. So
I mean, that's what
uh,
foam is for, right? You put a little foam in there, it snugs up the print. It's all
yeah.
good.
So
Uh,
that turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. I'll leave that on the
well,
back up
hopefully
there.
it wasn't a Halloween costume for this year. You know what I'm saying?
No, no.
You would have missed it a little bit. Um, so the other thing that that I just wanted to show you really quick, we get a lot of questions, through the other videos, and they're fair, valid questions. It's a good question, and one of the ones is like what we do for printer safety, and VS Code and Marlin. But so we're gonna go into VS Code. I'm gonna add my folder, and I think it's in my downloads. There it is, Marlin. Let's add that one. So I'm just going to hit add on the second folder there, which will bring Marlin in without actually having to create a project, which is good because, oh, Greg, you're tiny again. I'm not fixing it this time. We've been fighting with the plugin all morning, so you can stay tiny. So when you add your folder into your workspace, you don't have to create a new project per se. If you just wanted to edit a file quickly without, compiling, this is the way to go. So if we come in here and we go into Marlin and configuration.h, so this is the newest version of Marlin as of 34 minutes ago.
So the 7.2.
Yeah, so 2.0.7.2. So this, when you're in your Marlin and it's in config.h, the first thing, and it is almost always turned on for like most modern printers. However, if you enjoy Tronxy printers and some of the other cheaper, shall we say, clones of like a Big Tree Tech Legend or the other stuff like that, you'll want to come and check in or test out the fact that you have thermal runaway on. This is the first one that we always turn on, but you can see here this is default vanilla Marlin. Nope, thermal runaway is on, right? So on line 594, 596 you'll have all the runaway. Now to save a little space in compiling, if you don't have heated chamber, which
Comment that out.
commented out, 90% of us probably don't, or if we do, it's just like getting like transient heat from the bed in the like Creality safety screen. So that's one of the ones that can make your printers very safe. Now I'm just going to switch back from the screen share for a second. Now we do have another VS Code video coming out about the auto build versus not auto build, but yeah, so you'll see more VS Code soon. The next thing that you can do to prevent issues with your printers is to keep them safe is, if you're not in the room with the printer, always make sure you're monitoring it. So that means like if you're going to be at work remote, you should have a camera. I'm not going to tell you that it has to be like what kind of camera. Octoprint, yes, and Greg grabbed his. See, we're buddies. And you should have some sort of remote relay. Now these guys are smart switches that were dirt cheap on Amazon. Not dirt cheap, but they were cheap on Amazon.
They were good deal.
Good deal. And even though like, so this device here in my hand is called a smart switch, or a smart, what is it?
Plug.
A plug. Thank you. Smart plug. But what it really is a dumb plug with a relay in it. So the power resume and power off relays that you can find from like China, from AliExpress, this is basically those, but in a nice, safe, North American approved package. Make sure when you're buying them that they are certified in your area. So, like in Canada, that's CSA approved, and it's very, very hard for like knockoff companies to get that approval. And this one actually is. I don't know. Can we zoom in on it? Does it focus? Oh, look at that. So I got CSA approval. It's on the top right below my finger right here that's moving.
Yeah,
So like this one is CSA approved. We totally planned that, right, Greg?
totally.
Totally. So again, like I'm not gonna even mention the brand, although I think it's cool. I think this is a good smart switch. Well, you know what? We're not sponsored by them. This smart switch is called a NUI. NOOIE. I use iHome smart switches as well and consumer electronics. So with the smart switches, if you use the TP Link ones, there's a plugin in Octoprint that can control it as well. If you don't have like Alexa or Google Home or you just using the base app, I guess that comes with it. But the smart switch is the next part of safety. The last one that really, and I talked about it before, and Greg and I have done it to many SX4s, and we've done it to a Legend, BQ Legend, and I don't know what the new one's called. What, B1? I
Yeah.
think that's what it is. But open your printers up, look inside of them, and make sure there's no loose wiring, like the dust.
Or the gauge of
Yeah,
wire is correct.
the
Like
gauge of
that
wire. Yeah.
that was the big one on the Legend.
Oh, yeah.
They had the gauge of wire wrong. The power plug wire they shipped had like what is it? What was it?
Oh, it was tiny.
30.32 gauge
Yeah.
electrical. Like when you really like it literally got hot. The cord.
Yeah.
It would have started a fire.
Now with
Uh,
24-volt power supplies, and then this is a strange statement because most printers come 24-volt now. You can get away with a little bit smaller gauge of wire, a little bit,
yeah.
just the way. But yeah, like these were like little spaghetti string wires that
The,
the Legend
if
came
you've
with.
if you've ever had to solder a headphone wire back on,
Mm-hmm.
that was the gauge of wire it was to try to power the printer. You could never get enough amps through that, and that's why it was getting so hot.
Although if
So
you're looking for a light bulb temporarily, like that might be a good solution until like
yeah,
it flashed out. So that's like open your printer up periodically. Check out the internals, like for example, the Ender 3s or even like the sidewinders. Um, Anything where there's control boards underneath where you can actually like either knock PLA down into the control surfaces, or just collect random household dust. You got to remember that PLA. So Greg's example is perfect, right? The Legend wiring got hot and it electrocuted me, which made me sad. A piece of PLA whose melting point is 60, right? The bed transition is 60, so that's when it starts to deform. Falls down there, hits that wire, and let's say the wire can heat up, which it is. The PLA could actually make its way into the power supply and like solidify and cause a lot of problems, right? Like so cleanliness is very good. Just make sure that your workstations is where the printer specifically is. I know lots of us have like little scraps on the table and stuff, but we want to make sure that that printer is safe and sound.
and if you do get a print job like this,
Dude,
you
that
know,
bag is loud.
sorry, but if you do get a print job like this was a gauntlet that came off during the print.
Give it to your
Um,
daughter. Yep.
right? Just make sure that you take all these little bits that get everywhere and clean it up. Make sure it didn't get into any fans.
Yep.
That could damage stuff. And just do a general cleanup of the air around your printer so that nothing gets sucked into your fans too, because that's always another Another just general maintenance tip to have. And strain relief. If you have
Yep.
a printer or a print bed, uh, these are motion devices. They're going back and forth. And if you've ever taken a wire and bent it back and forth many times on a sharp angle, like it
Breaks.
weakens it and it breaks it.
Yep.
So having a gentler curve and a cable management of some sort added to it is another good way to reduce that strain, get that strain relief on there.
Definitely.
To help prevent issues.
Yep. Definitely. And I'm gonna throw this word out here, and it's controversial because I know some people love it, some people hate it. Um, Octoprint can save your printer's life. I said it. I'm going to add ferrules. Yeah, ferrules to the end of the cable is a good idea.
Yeah.
Lots of the cables when you first get your printer, especially I've noticed Creality loves to do it too. They come soldered, and soldering your cable is bad for many reasons. But the electrical transition from the power side to the cable, it enjoys squished things. Ooh, ferrule. Ooh. Look
Yeah,
at that. Yeah.
the ferrules are great. It's not expensive. Even the tool is not expensive.
No.
And yeah, like you said, like I just on the Legend, they had tinned the ends of the power connector before they put it into the screw down terminal, and you should never do that. You should have a ferrule on there. The
Or just
tinning is
bare wire.
bad because if you get heating, you can actually get heating to the point that you transition the solder back to molten, right? And then it melts, and it can then do other nasty things in there and short other circuits out. So if you're dealing with, high current type things like your bed or your main power supply to your board, definitely ferrules,
Yep.
right?
Definitely. I mean, okay, yeah, ferrules. And I agree, ferrules are a great way to go. Everybody, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying, if you don't want to buy ferrules, bare wire, crush it in that screw
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
terminal.
Yeah. Bare wire.
Yeah.
Just give it a couple turns. Don't have it too long. That's another thing. You don't want to have it so long that you have to jam it in to get it in there all the way to your
The terminal leads there.
the insulation. You don't want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
have to jam it so far in that you have you want to make sure you have the right depth of it when you put it into your screw terminal, that it goes far enough in that you have enough to grip on, but not too much that your insulation isn't covering your wire up to the terminal connector that you're screwing down, because you don't need a straight wire to short across the terminal.
Oh, where's the fun in not doing that?
So just hopefully this is common sense.
Well,
For us as makers and whatnot out there, right?
it should be, but I mean, people join the hobby and the craft all the time.
Yep.
So, but yeah, Creality is infamous. Like I don't think I've met a Creality printer that I've took apart yet that doesn't have solder on those leads. And if you look at a lot of the problems with the Ender 3 boards, the Ender 3 board itself, where the power terminal goes in, that's always black when they're having issues. What happened here? Well, heated up, solder heated up, it shorted, and then it made it black, and your printer doesn't work. You have to get a new controller. So,
Don't let the smoke out.
yeah, don't let the smoke out. The other thing I mentioned, and I said the word Octoprint briefly. There are plugins like Spaghetti Detective in Octoprint that mostly work sometimes. The biggest advantage to having Octoprint is you can modify your print job too. So if you have multiple gauntlets on the print bed, you can cancel one if it falls off, which could save the rest. Lurk is saying I got ferrules and the tool cheap. Yeah, AliExpress is the correct place to get the tool. I mean,
I don't
if
remember if I got mine on AliExpress or not. This is the one
yeah,
I got here, and
I
I
thought
mean
yours
it
came
worked.
from Amazon or something.
I think I got mine at Amazon, but it didn't cost that much. Like, and
It's a
it's worth it. Like this one does 0.25 all the way up to 10 millimeters squared,
yeah.
or 23 gauge up to 7 gauge.
Yeah, so I mean that's
So
more than enough for
so
your
so
printers.
this is a what we use it for.
Hmm.
This it's good for a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So.
Um. Now the other thing too, I have this. I'm gonna show this. Oh, now you can see my camera. Look at the shiny. So this is actually Big Tree Tech Raspberry Pi display, and Greg's got one too. Um, the reason this could actually up your safety game is because Raspberry Pi Octoprint, again, can output more information in the terminal than a plain LCD controller. If you have one of the new Big Tree Tech controllers with the TFTs, the TFT controller can actually output the G code as well, and you can see what's going on. But knowing what your printer G code is doing while it's running is handy and amazing. And you can send interrupt codes straight from the terminal. If you don't want to like power down the printer right away, you can send a halt code, fix the issue, and then come back to it. Looks like the tool I got mine is for cable 23 to 7. Yeah. So
Yeah,
23
that's what
gauge to
mine is
7 is
too.
pretty good. So um, so when you're looking at wiring, I like um, I like the fact that like it's an AWG, which is fine. But so when you're talking wiring and distance, if you're not sure what people are talking about, you can always jump on. Uh, I like to use. There's a few sites I like to use, but like Pickwire is a good site. Pickwire.com. And it goes through and it tells you like, okay, if I have a 7 gauge wire, 10 gauge wire, I'm putting 24 volts through it. How much amperated can it take, and how far, how long? Um, if you own a recreational vehicle, you're really good at this already. Right? Like it's just that's the way it is. So wire gauges start, when you're looking at a wire gauge, the higher the number, right, does not mean higher the amperage to the or the current, right? So look up a chart. Even Wikipedia has good ones. That's what I'm getting at. We don't have to be electrical engineers, but we should understand electricity.
You should understand, how current affects the temperature of different gauges of wire,
Yeah.
because it's important when we're dealing with things that like have heaters in them and whatnot. The draw is important.
Right. And it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Because like you might think, well, I want to pass a lot of current through this wire, so I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to get a high gauge wire. Higher the number, right? Like the diameter of, let's say, a 24 gauge wire is, what do we got? 0.5 ish millimeters, right? So that's a thin wire. You know what I'm saying? That's like
Yeah,
thin.
I think I like the millimeters a little bit better, in the fact that the higher the millimeters, the thicker the wire.
Yes.
Whereas the gauge,
it's,
you know,
it's like reverse.
double double aught
Yeah. Yeah.
is like as big as my thumb.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you run for comparison, like when you get a like 8 gauge, that's what you run like your subwoofer from your car battery through, right? Like that's thick wire. But like I go make sure that again, this is going back to the wires and we talked about wires, but hey, make sure that you're using the right. Yep. Higher, yeah. It's a reverse relationship, right, Lurk? Yeah. Good. Yeah. Way to put it. Higher the number, smaller the wire. Smaller the number, thicker the wire.
Yeah,
It's just one of those things.
it
Um,
is.
yeah. So I mean, we're coming up on an hour here, and got some good Lightspeed and Lurk have been awesome gentlemen in the chat today. So thank
Did
you.
you guys have any questions or anything,
Yeah.
or any things that you think we should do for topics? Or
Yeah,
we're
for
more than
sure.
happy to entertain ideas and see
I
if we
dream
can.
of wires. I love that. Dominic dreams of wire. What if you dreamed in wire? Whoa.
Ooh.
Like not like all the people were wire people, right? That's
my
trippy.
my my dad loves making wire art. He'll like take
Hmm.
anything from napkins to wires, and he made a pirate ship out of wire.
Well,
It
I
had
mean, it is a good medium, right?
cannons on it and everything.
One question: can I drive a SSR without removing the MOSFET? Yeah, yeah. So like, what? I guess what's your so when you're saying MOSFET, are you talking the MOSFET on the board, like on the controller, or you have like an external MOSFET that's feeding in and then it's um, sending? The answer is yes, but I'm
But
not
what
sure. Yeah.
we need to know why you want to do that, because just because you can doesn't mean you should. So
So okay, so the bed MOSFETs. So the SSR can turn on and off the bed. Yes, but the MOS so on your controller you're going to have the MOSFET for the bed and it turns on and off. And that's the signal that you use to trigger the SSR. So
are you switching your bed from to AC from DC? Is that what you're trying to do? And what printer is this on? Just so we have a little more context.
I like context. I also like pre-context. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of take a peek at what we did on my SX4 video. If you watch that one here, let's see if we can find it for you. Um, yes,
We we actually took an SSR out
and put a
uh,
MOSFET in.
and put a
But
MOSFET in because the SSR was hammering a power supply, turning it off and on, off and on. Just they had it actually turning the AC off to the power supply.
yeah, which is weird. But you could do the exact same thing that we did in that video with DC DC SSR instead of the MOSFET. We just didn't have SSRs and we're going to wait around for like a DC DC SSR to show up, and we had MOSFETs. So the answer to the question, I mean, without the context, we don't really need a whole bunch of context, is yes, for sure. But you still need to use the board's output to control whatever relay you're trying to trigger. Well, I like to experiment. I was thinking about using an SSR on my Ender 3 Pro. By the way, the CR10S Pro is using... Yes, and yes, it is. Yep, you are absolutely
Yep,
right. And
it is.
SSRs actually trigger faster and more reliably than MOSFETs. You just need to make sure. So if you're using it on an Ender 3 Pro, the Ender 3 Pro bed is taking 24 volt DC to heat it up. So you just need to find a DC DC SSR, and then you use
Yep,
the MOSFET signal from the board to turn that on and off. So you'll
yep.
still have to use the board's controller to turn the SSR on and off. But yeah, absolutely, you
The
can do it.
the newer boards, though, just so you guys are aware, do have larger and more robust MOSFETs on them. The earlier boards, like the earlier Ender boards and whatnot, they had weaker. Well, even the original CR10, the 12 volt and whatnot, they would burn up the MOSFETs on the board. So they had to put the secondary um, unit in there so that it was getting power direct from the power supply. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why they put the the secondary MOSFET board in
Mhm.
is just so that it could handle the current. Now with 24 volt, a lot of the boards don't have to worry about that nowadays because they have a higher quality MOSFET on the board.
Mhm.
But you look at the CR10 Pro Max or the CR10 Max,
Yes,
it
yeah,
has such a large print surface on it that takes a lot of current. So that's a lot of times why they go to an SSR. In that case, is because of the amount of current that they're trying to push to the board. So it depends on your use case. On an Ender 3, I wouldn't worry about it. The the heat bed runs perfectly fine
Mhm.
directly off of the SKR boards, for example,
Mhm.
without any issue at all.
But I mean, too, Lurk says there, if you're just experimenting, do it.
Yeah,
Right?
and to
If your end is your
understand,
tinkerer printer and you want to see
yeah,
if I can do this on a bigger printer, go for it. But yes,
and,
an SSR and MOSFET are interchangeable if you get the
yeah,
right one, right? And so, but yeah,
and
there's
if
nothing wrong, and you're not going to break anything by doing
and if
that.
you're going to go to like a silicone AC heater bed,
Mm-hmm.
then you definitely would want an SSR so that you could trigger it. You could still use the DC to trigger
Yep.
the relay to turn the heater on and off appropriately to heat. And if you look at some of the experimental printers like um, the what's his name, Fun King. Fun
Oh
King
yeah.
has his big printer. He has a big aluminum slab, and if I'm not mistaken, he has a AC silicone heater on the bottom of that to keep that warm. And you'll see a lot of guys, they'll, if they convert to like a non-moving bed,
Mm-hmm.
they'll get a big aluminum sheet and put the silicone heater on the bottom. And in that case, a lot of times they'll use the SSR
Mm-hmm.
to trigger that.
Yep, for sure. Like even that the IDX, what is it, the Form Raptor, whatever. Right?
Yep.
As soon as you get to a larger bed, it takes more wattage. That's when you're gonna want external sources. But like from a tinkering standpoint, it's not gonna break it. You're gonna have fun doing it. So yes, it is possible. But just remember that SSRs, external MOSFETs, or any other external relay for that matter require input from a source. And that input generally is an analog electrical signal turning on that says turn on, and then it turns on. So, um, yeah. But to quote my good friend, he's not my friend at all actually, but Frank Sinatra, the time has come. The time has come. I've reached my final curtain, friends. See, I didn't sing it, so there can't be copyright strikes,
Could we
right?
hum it?
No, we can't even do that. But you guys have been a pleasure this fine day. Thanks for the great interaction in chat. We
Yeah, that was
appreciate
awesome.
it. We
Thanks, Luke,
Lurk
Lurk, and Lightspeed
and
for
Dominic's in there too. Yeah,
and Dominic, yeah, for
yeah,
all participating. That's great.
yep. We're gonna have like, me. We're making this more of a regular thing to chat with you guys. So again, if you need any help or have specific things that you're kind of working on, like the experimental SSR, yeah, come on down, leave us a message on Facebook. If you go to 3D, you have to go www.3dmakeit.ca, and we have some email addresses up there. You can hit us up. We have a Discord
And
and
Facebook.
Facebook. What's the other one? Oh yeah, I'm starting a Twitch feed. Guys, we could all be on Twitch together. So that's my next goal is to simulcast or dual
I'll
cast.
be honest. I'm really bad with Discord. I barely go on there. I'm sorry, guys. I
Well,
guess I'm too old to figure it out.
Yeah, no,
on a
no.
regular basis.
Right. But yeah, you guys have been awesome. Thanks for joining. We will be back probably next week, maybe. You might see our smiling
Yeah.
faces for a
And
while.
hopefully we'll have a video in between there
Yep.
that we put out. So
So you guys have a good one. Take care. Ciao.
ciao. Bye.